All right, here we go. Let's look at this nature AOE range loadout. All right, It's a few versions you could use of this. I'm gonna show you my version. You can substitute the strat for soul cloak. Whatever. If you're going single target, you could use the solar amplifier. Whatever you want to do. All right. On this particular one, we're gonna use the Sinestro Corrupted Power Ring. We're gonna use the candle. The transformation card, we're gonna use the Toto Omega, and we're gonna use the Neron candle, and we're gonna use the strategist card. All right, we're gonna look at it now. Before any boss fight, let's say we about to start a boss fight, you're gonna want to have, if you have these artifacts, all right, if you got Philosopher's Stone and Dead King Scepter, you're gonna want to have an armory built for those. For instance, all right, this is an armory where I have. It really don't matter what, you know, arts you have, but you want to have your Ebon on because the Dead King Scepter definitely procs your orbital procs off of might. So the higher your might is, the harder it hits. So even if you got to build up your before the boss start, you're building up your Ebon just to get the most out of the Dead King Scepter. You could do that as well. All right. All right. And obviously, you see, we maxed out on everything. We got everything. We got everything. We got the hands. We got the back. All right. So this is just to start it off. You switch your armory right after that to your AOE range loadout, and I'll show you that one as well. All right, so this is what you do. And we got somebody over here, so let's go over here. So this is what you're gonna be doing right here, man. Right? As soon as you start off, you're gonna pop all your little buffs, call out your dude, boom, 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 boom. Switch to your loadout, hit your little dots, put the harvest on them, switch that, boom. Now you right into motion. And you're gonna wanna hit this harvest like every 3 balls. Now you can switch your hands and during any time. During either the harvest or the omega. Damn. See, you gotta make sure your stuff is there. Alright now, let's go just look at them like 2 or 3 parses. Let's go look at them. What happened? Let's get up out of combat. Boom. Alright, the first part was 63 million, 64 million. I've gotten that up to 72. 63 million. That's your first parse. Your second parse was 20, 26, 22. Alright, so you're gonna be in the average around 24, 25, 26. That'll be your average. You can get higher, especially once you start. You see, when I went in there, hand swapping and all that. If you don't do that, you don't got to. But if you want to be the best DPS you could be, you're gonna have to do all that. But this particular loadout is it's one of the best loadouts there is. All right, for nature. You can obviously, when you come over here, you see this gorilla form. You don't have to have the candle there. You can put the Ebon in place of the candle and use the impelling thorn, because the impelling thorn also is a AOE in gorilla form, so it'll hit everybody. So if you got a lot of ads, it's gonna hit everybody. It's you know, and it's a heavy hitter as well. But it's a finisher. So if you got the E-Bond on, what you do is you hit it after you hit your Omega. Use your Omega to hit your hands, and then you hit the finisher again. And it's going, you know, it give you similar type damage as the Omega. Not quite as much, but you know, it gets up there. So that's how you gonna do that, man. All right. Now the reason you hit harvest, let me show y'all. Let me show you. The reason you hit hard, let's see the dots. This is the dots. These are dots. They call it damage over time. That's, you know, the abbreviation is dots. So you see how long the serpent call lasts. And it hits everybody. So when you don't have ads that last long, you're not going to have all these dots up at once. But you have to at least hit one poison in order to activate poison ivy. All right, empowering spores, that's what you're going to want. And obviously you want the Starfire for the 8% might. Okay? You ain't gotta have this one. You know, this one is optional. Y'all can do just as high as damage if I put something else in. You know, on a few other ones I got this one maxed out and all that. You can put that one in if it's maxed out. Whichever one is and it'll work. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gotta have that one. But that's the one I would use if I was to tell you to use one. Now, as you see these other dots, they one hitters, right? They one bangers. They only gonna hit one person. It's an initial hit, and then it's only gonna hit one person after that. All right. Now, how you make them dots multiple targets, right? You see they got that. You put that harvest on them, and that harvest spreads them. Now it's hitting everybody, and you keep that harvest up. You don't never gotta hit them again. All right. That's why when you switch to gorilla form, the only time you come out of gorilla form is to go right back in gorilla form. And you basically using that as like your supercharge. That's your supercharge. That's your venom. That's your whatever supercharge, you know, that's you use it. But you can't like go in and come right out and go right back in. It'll take it's a little cooldown, even though it says it's not a cooldown on it. Even though it's like it's a 30-second cooldown. All right. So even though if you leave out and try to go back, it won't, even though it says it's ready, it won't pop. So you're gonna have to wait that 30 seconds. All right, so we're gonna redo it again for y'all one more time. We're gonna redo it again. All right, we're gonna redo it again. Harvest. Damn. You gotta have your skill points in or else it won't go to your inventory. You gotta manually do it. And that becomes a nuisance. But let's go. You see 27, 28, 24. These are the numbers that you're gonna see. 67, you see that 67 million. That's that initial. So like the importance of that is when you start most of these bosses off, they die quick. Cause most of the time, especially if you got a lead run or something, you're gonna have good burners. If you ain't got good burners, you could mess up and do all kind of stuff and still whoop on them. But if you got good burners, you're gonna need that 67 million. Look, it's gonna take you 3 more parses to equal that. At least 2 more. 3 more parses to get that up. So if you ain't got the 3 parses, dang, well, that thing ain't no joke. So if you ain't got that parse though, that's 67 million. The next one was 46 million. That's 100 million in 20 seconds. That's 113 million in 20 seconds. You know what I'm saying? You need that at the beginning. If you don't get that, you're gonna be so far behind on damage. You know what I'm saying? That's just the reality of this game. These bosses are dying quick. Kilowatt, Mogo, them little single target bosses, like they die so quick that you're not gonna, nature really don't shine on this particular DLC because of that reason. You know what I'm saying? You don't have a lot of ads to stay alive long enough for your dots to even you put dots on and they'll be the omega out of the game, and you'll be sitting back there with at the bottom of the board. So you gotta, I could show you all that other ones. I just wanted to show you this one. This is a range loadout. You know what I'm saying? Particularly like for the back room of ABE plus or that back room where you could set your dots and go in and out your gorilla form for your supercharge and stuff like that. This is what that's for. But as you can see, 67 million, 67 million, 67 million, 46 million. I'm looking at the wrong thing. 67 million, 20 million, 24, 27. It take you 3 just to get that first one. If you ain't getting that, it's gonna take you 30 seconds to get what you could have got in the first 10 seconds. And if you know these bosses, they gonna be dead by then. So, it's not gonna be fruitful for you to wait around trying to fiddle with man. DPSing is about fast damage. The quickest you can get it out, the better. You know what I'm saying? It's not about these targets are misleading because they don't die. So your numbers keep going. They always going. So it's easy to make it look like it's doing a lot more than what it really doing on these targets. You know what I'm saying? Before you get to any boss, I mean when you start any boss though, you want to have that orb loadout I showed you. That's gonna be your first one. That's what you going off the bat with. Boom, 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 all that, and then you go into your regular loadout and go crazy. You know what I'm saying? And you'll be within fighting range. Sometimes, I know it's gadgets is meta right now, so it's gonna be hard to keep up with them on like throughout the whole board. It's gonna be hard to keep up with them on a regular. I'm talking about the very good DPSs. I'm not talking about the average DPS. The average DPS you're gonna burn right through them, but a great DPS and the gadgets too with the meta, it's gonna be hard to keep up with them on a regular. Now you will, you can catch them slipping or something, but that's how you run this range loadout, all right? And like I said, the harvest that's gonna keep your dots alive. So after you hit these first 3 dots, you ain't gotta worry about hitting them again, cause harvest will keep them alive, and that's gonna keep your spores alive for your poison ivy, all right? That's gonna keep it constantly procking. So after it cool down and it's ready to come back up, it'll come right back up. All right, so that's how you run that nature AOE, man. If y'all want more from that nature, let me know. I get it to you, single target. I'll show you all kind of ways to run with it. But that one right there, what I just showed you, is a heavy hitter. As you can see, 67 million, 70 million, 40 million, 30 million, 27 million. You know, it's about quick damage as quickly as possible on DPSing, right? So if you come in there and you just do your regular loadout, you come in there setting dots and you ain't hit your supply dropping your orbital and all that, I can guarantee you the other DPSs are gonna be done hit it already. They are definitely gonna be they gonna hit all that. Supercharged, Philosopher's Stone, Dead King Scepter, any DPS worth they weight is gonna do that. Anyone. Alright? So just know that. And that'll get you from point A to point B. You know? All right, y'all. Stay up.